What is the dark truth behind kidfluencers? Child influencers and content creators have been taking over social media for over a decade. It all seems innocent enough, but is it really?
Fake being happy. Okay?
Children being exploited on social media by their parents, being forced to work 7 days a week, long hours with zero regulations in order to make the people around them rich, children even being exploited on the internet for profit, all while there is minimal laws in place to protect them. The world of online influencing is very new. We've seen the results of these kids coming out of Hollywood, these child actors and Disney Channel stars, and the things that happened to them and the way that they were exploited. But the whole concept that anyone and everyone could start a YouTube or a TikTok and Instagram and use their kids or other people's kids as basically unpaid full-time work slave content creators is very new. Recently, some insane documentaries and stories have come out exposing just how dark the kidfluencing industry really is. And as someone who has been on YouTube since I was around 13 years old, this is a really shocking thing to see. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, welcome back to Right Side Up. My name is Nevaeh Souza. Don't forget to leave a comment and hit that like and subscribe button if you want to see more content. So I'm going to talk about two big stories as examples of the issues that are coming up now surrounding kids on the internet, which is a bad influence documentary that is about Piper and Tiffany Rockelle, a mother-daughter duo, and their friends, the Squad, and the Ruby Franke controversy, the Utah vlogger mom who went a little too far. So Bad Influence just recently came out on Netflix. It's a documentary about the Squad. I'm going to play you guys a quick trailer of Bad Influence.
Piper Rockelle is an incredibly popular child influencer.
Piper's mother, Tiffany Smith, is the momager.
It seemed so innocent.
Things can get very muddy when kids are making an obscene amount of money.
Tiffany would direct us to pose certain ways, hugging a certain way in a clip.
Closer, 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 closer.
She would be like, over and over, sells, make it.
Smile, flirt with the camera. We were filming like 10 to 15 videos a day.
Okay, action.
The mother of a teen YouTube star will face claims of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse from 11 teen content creators who were featured on her daughter's channel. And all of them say they were not paid for their work and appearances. Now, the Squad I remember seeing on YouTube when I was a younger kid. It was a group of kids all around 12 years old, and they would do things like pranks and challenges, all sorts of content geared towards kids on YouTube. The main girl at the center of this group was Piper Rockelle. This whole Squad and YouTube channel was run by Piper's mom, Tiffany. It all started really innocent. Piper would make the usual kind of content that middle school girls do on Musical.ly, but she started gaining a really large following. Eventually, all of her followers across her platforms would equal 132 million. 132 million. That is a lot of people. When you have that many people following you, that is potential for big money and a lot of fame. And Piper's mom knew that. She started recruiting all of Piper's little friends and a bunch of other kids in LA to join the YouTube channel, kind of as like supporting characters. She started what became the Squad. So Piper and her friends would get together 7 days a week and they would shoot content that Tiffany had control over. All of these other kids' parents say that they thought this was just like a fun hobby for them to do as friends. They were just making harmless videos, pranks, challenges. But what they didn't know is that Piper's mom, Tiffany, was making $4 to $5 million a year, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars a month just in YouTube AdSense. So just what YouTube was paying them, that's not even including all of their sponsorships and endorsements. She became incredibly controlling and manipulative, where she would get this group of kids to film 10, 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week if need be, the middle of the night, didn't matter. And none of those other kids ever saw a dime of it. The financial exploitation of kids on the internet is a very common problem. There are so many kids whose entire family's financial situation and livelihood depends on them. With social media, you have like 8-year-old kids who are the breadwinners of their family. It's the same kind of issue that you see with stage parents and child actors where they're taking advantage of their kids' income. But social media is unique because there's no regulation. Like when you have child actors, there's a certain amount of days they can work, certain amount of hours. Their money is regulated. You know, the parents can't just take 100% of it. With social media, that is not the case. There's no oversight on the situation. Anyone can just make their kid make content and nobody can really do anything about it. So the parents of these kids started to figure this out. They were like, this woman is using our children to support her lifestyle. But then you fast forward a couple of years and things start to get really, really weird. I went and scrolled through Piper Rockelle's channel. This one's called Having My Girlfriend Hit on Me to See How My Boyfriend Reacts. This was 4 years ago, which would make these kids around 12, 13 years old. I don't have to explain why this thumbnail and title, everything about this video is super creepy. This one's I've been cheating on my boyfriend 3 years ago, which would make her 14 in this. Again, the touching, the clothing choices, it's odd. 4 years ago, 13 years old in this, I kissed my boyfriend for the first time. What is so creepy about these thumbnails and titles and the concepts is that this is all run by Piper's mother. The mom is the one picking these concepts and putting her daughter and all of these other minors in these situations that are very, very adult. This one is also 13, 14-year-olds chapstick challenge with Piper Rockelle. My boyfriend reacts to Fashion Nova swimsuits. This one really creeps me out. The truth about my past. The thumbnail is so creepy, showing her crying next to 2 photos of what they're alluding to be her as a little girl in skimpy clothing, and it's all blurred, alluding that it's something more explicit. There is years and years and years of content. It just keeps getting worse. I mean, my boyfriend walked in on me with a peach emoji, and she's wrapped in a towel with a big censored sign on the thumbnail. This one I don't even know the context for, but it's probably the worst one. So this is what Tiffany, Piper's mother, started doing with the content with her YouTube channels. And it wasn't just her own daughter. She exploited all of these children. She would hold auditions to cast children in LA as Piper's friends and as her friends' boyfriends to create drama and all of this crush and relationship and kissing videos. Between 2017 and 2020, a bunch of the squad members started leaving the squad and claiming that it was a very toxic and inappropriate working environment. Tiffany allegedly made comments about the children's genitalia, shouted obscene and sexually graphic remarks at them, encouraged them to be sexy and sexually aggressive. One of the former squad members also said that Tiffany was mailing Piper, her daughter's intimate garments to random men online who were paying for it. Used to subject her to internet stalkers in order to get money by making her talk to them on the phone and send them photos. There was also a video where Tiffany kissed a 17-year-old on live stream. How this woman is not in prison, beyond me, I have no idea. The mothers of the victims are being very outspoken now, saying, I want all predators who hurt young kids to be brought to justice. I also hope we move the needle on these platforms that are allowing this. How she is still being allowed to run content pages and manage her daughter, and she has all of these new kids on board now as part of Piper's content. I don't understand. All of these kids were exploited. They were subjected to abuse and nothing was protecting them. There were no laws in place to protect them. There's no oversight. They had their innocence and their adolescence stolen from them for the sake of YouTube content. Piper is now 17 years old. When you go on her social media, it says managed by parents. I don't even want to show 90% of what is being put out on these platforms. It is so explicit and not okay for a 17-year-old to be posting. And it's not even just Piper. There's videos of her with other minors as well, where they're in really mature situations and outfits, and the themes of a lot of these videos are just super disturbing. There is a site, I don't want to name it because I don't want to bring any more attention to it than there already is, but it is a site for premium content. So it's exclusive content of creators where you have to pay to unlock it. So the more money you spend, the more exclusive content you unlock. You have to be 18 or older to be a member of somebody else's. So if you want to unlock Piper's content, you have to be 18. But to post and offer exclusive content on the site, you only have to be 13. It is basically a site where adults can gain access to exclusive content of minors. How that is legal, I have no idea. Piper's also been making a lot of content with the Bop House. If you aren't familiar with the Bop House, consider yourself lucky, but it is basically a house where a group of girls live and they all make explicit content for a living, like a friend group, but to promote their content. Piper, the 17-year-old, is now making all of these promotional type TikToks and Reels and all of this content with the Bop House girls and going to the Bop House, and they're all making videos about how she's supposedly joining, which I'm assuming is what's going to happen as soon as she turns 18, and they're all trying to hype her up in the meantime. So creepy that they're doing all of this while she's a minor. Her own parent got so corrupted by the idea of fame and money from social media that she did this to her own daughter. So one mom, wanting to be YouTube famous, wanting to have all of these followers and make all of this money, was able to corrupt the lives of all of these different kids. It is so scary how easy it is to take advantage of social media. If you wanted to exploit anyone, especially children, social media would be the way to go. Why even bother trying to get them into Hollywood and trying to get them on Disney Channel to make all of this money? It's so much easier just to post on YouTube. The child influencer industry is still so new that protections for kids in this space are honestly pretty minimal. In media hotspots like the UK and US, there are long-standing rules in place to safeguard the rights and well-being of children working in film, TV, and modeling, but the legislation hasn't quite caught up with the fast-moving world of social media influencing. So as of January of this year, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed 2 bills into effect. Under the new laws, creators who feature minors in at least 30% of their content must set aside 65% of the child's gross earnings in a trust until they reach adulthood. In March, a legislation was signed into law that requires parents to provide compensation for children who are featured in social media content and allows a path for content featuring children to be deleted at a later time. Along with California, Illinois has tried to make some attempt to crack down on this, and then Utah is the newest of all of the states to sign something into law. But most of what I'm seeing revolves around compensating the children who are featured online. Not much is being put in place to actually protect children from being exploited and working 7 days a week, super long hours. The story of what happened with the YouTube channel 8 Passengers, which was run by this stay-at-home mom, Ruby Franke, in 2023, is an example, I think, of why we need to focus more on that aspect of children being on social media. So in 2023, family vlogger Ruby Franke was convicted of several counts of felony aggravated child abuse. She ran a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers where she documented her life as a mother of 6. 8 Passengers had accumulated over 3 million subscribers, being one of the biggest family vlog type channels. Ruby kind of modeled herself as like the perfect stay-at-home mom with the perfect family, the perfect kids, perfect husband. She was very religious and expressed that she thought she was doing God's work through her content by showing people what this perfect religious family looked like. It would help other people come to God. So to her, filming her family's life every day, she was one of those who had no boundaries. Nothing was private. Everything going on in the family was talked about. Every issue, every time a kid got in trouble, all of it was on camera for everyone else's consumption.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door. He's got duct taped around each ankle. He's obviously covered in wounds.
How do you plead to count 1, child abuse?
Guilty.
To count 3, child abuse?
With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children. Guilty.
Decided to create a YouTube channel, and we became 8 Passengers.
But they only saw what we wanted to show them.
Sit her down on the flipping couch. Okay, move it. If I hear one more word, get out.
Ruby said the children were demonically possessed.
Fake being happy. Okay?
I don't know if I can right now.
Pretty much to summarize what happened, she seemed relatively normal until she got into social media. She really thought of herself as this like beacon model mom for how to correctly discipline, and you can watch through the videos the progression of how extreme she became with her forms of discipline.
I'm only going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months, and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
You've been sleeping on a beanbag.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October.
If you cut one more thing in my house,
We're chopping its head off.
I'm going to take the scissors, look at me, and I'm going to cut its head off.
Grandma will be so mad.
So what are you going to do? I just got a text message from Eve's teacher, and she said that Eve did not pack a lunch today, and can I bring a lunch over to the school? So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry. And hopefully hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
That's just 2 examples of the kind of discipline she would promote on social media. There is multiple instances on her channel where she would brag pretty much about letting her children go hungry throughout the day and withholding food. She said food was a privilege, not necessary for human life. Along with things like pointing the camera in the kid's face and asking them, what is it you got in trouble for? Tell the audience, tell the 3 million people what it is you did, and would publicly humiliate and shame her children. She also would sexually exploit her eldest son. Ruby's husband later admits that that is what they were doing intentionally because their eldest son was, an attractive young guy. He was popular, he was charismatic, and the young girls in the audience loved him. And Ruby knew that and took advantage of it. So later on in the channel, Ruby kind of falls under the influence of this cult-like woman. She was a counselor, but she kind of starts worshiping this woman. She allows her to take control of every aspect of her family. She allows her to move into her home, allows her to exile her husband, and she frequently would act like she was demon possessed.
She's not. She's not. She knows. Louder.
I don't know what to think about this. So this was a woman she allowed to move into her home and take control of her entire family. She then used her YouTube channel to promote this woman's teachings and promote how to be the perfect wife and mom and all of these disciplinary acts you should be doing. And they were making a lot of money off of this. They used social media as their tool to promote their really twisted ideologies. She exiled the 2 eldest of her 6 kids. She moved the rest of them to a completely different state without telling the rest of her family. So after all of this, Ruby continues to run her YouTube channel, which she has transformed from a family vlog to this weird ministry type thing where she was telling other people how to live. But at this point, nobody knew just how dark the whole situation had gotten. In 2023, Franke's 12-year-old son escaped by climbing out of a window and fled to a neighbor's home. The woman told authorities she had encountered an emaciated child with tape around his legs who was hungry and thirsty. So authorities were called, and this finally led to them going and searching Ruby's home. And what they found was basically a torture chamber for her 2 youngest children. Ruby forced one of her sons to perform physical tasks for hours and even days at a time in hazardous conditions. She also denied the boy adequate food and water and punished him after discovering he had consumed water without her consent. The then 12-year-old boy also suffered injuries to his wrists and ankles, including damaged muscle and tissue from ropes and handcuffs that had been used to bind him. The wounds were then improperly treated with cayenne pepper and honey and covered with duct tape. One of Ruby's daughters was also forced to work outside with no adequate food or water. Her son tried to run away in July of 2023, and when he was caught, they bound him at the hands and feet with 2 sets of handcuffs. But when he was finally able to escape the home a month later and police searched their house, they found the boy's 9-year-old sister inside a closet with her head shaved. She would shave her 9-year-old daughter's head as punishment. When they further searched her home, they found all of her journal entries, which basically explained why she was abusing her children. Explained, but not explained because it makes no sense because it is psycho. Ruby at some point started believing that her children were possessed by the devil. In her journal entries, she referred to her kids as evil and possessed, and she was trying to kill the demon inside of them. So in February of last year, she pleaded guilty to 4 accounts of felony aggravated child abuse. She is serving up to 30 years in prison. It is so concerning to watch the progression on her YouTube channel from being totally normal, looked like a happy family. She was a very simple, basic, average mom to becoming this terrible monster that brutalized her children. Now today, Ruby's eldest daughter is a really big advocate for keeping minors off of the internet.
I come today as a victim of family vlogging. My goal is not to present any idea of a solution to this problem, but to shed light on the ethical and monetary issues that come from being a child influencer. When children become stars in their family's online content, they become child influencers. It is a full-time job with employees, business credit cards, managers, and marketing strategies.
Described a childhood in which her best and worst moments were filmed and shared with the world online. She describes the filmings as 24/7 work and said she lost friends because of the exposure. Family vlogging ruined my innocence long before Ruby committed a crime. I promise you that my experiences are not unique and it's happening to child influencers all over Utah and the country. Let's tackle the issue before it becomes a bigger crisis than it already is. So that's something I want to talk about as someone who's been on YouTube from the time I was 13 years old. A family vlog is very different. You can't have a family channel without knowing every detail of all of the children's lives. The whole point is to feel like you are right there in their living room with them. It's very like reality TV style where your conversations are filmed. If something bad happens at school, you're going to talk about it on camera. If a kid gets sick or hurt, it's going on camera. Embarrassing moments that should be kept very private for kids. Things like puberty, it gets put on camera. And that sounds insane, but that is not a niche category. There are way too many videos talking about like, it's Kaylee's first time shaving her legs. It's out of control. There's just zero privacy. Life is work, work is life. The lines are completely blurred. So that is a family vlog. My parents ran, I would call it like a couples vlog. It was about what they were doing. We were always in the background. I personally thought it was fun to hop on camera. I would like to go on there and say things and make little remarks. But then there's stretches on the channel where I wouldn't be on camera for 6 months. So at no point was my parents' channel even remotely reliant upon the kids being in the videos. We could all completely go incognito from their channel and it would make no difference to the content. So I wasn't in the situation that a lot of these kids are in. So I don't want to kind of compare my own personal experience with YouTube and social media to theirs. I'm really grateful for my own experience on the internet and that it wasn't anything like that. But I did go on to start my own YouTube channel as a teenager and make my own vlogging videos. So that's where it gets a little hard for me because I like when I see like a 16-year-old running their own channel and they're having fun with it. It's their own little business or just a passion project and they're making content for other teenagers. I follow a girl who teaches me how to cook recipes. Like that kind of content, I'm like, oh, this is so wholesome. This is so cool. But then you have people like Piper who are 17 years old and you would think that she's managing her own situation and she isn't. She's being completely exploited and she's stuck under the control of her mom. So that kind of brings the issue of what is okay and what isn't okay for minors to be doing on the internet and what channels are problematic and what channels are wholesome. I think that's why it's so hard to be able to protect children on social media because there's just no way to really figure that out. You just have to kind of hope everything goes well and allow it. YouTube turns into a job for a lot of young adults. I try to imagine me last year at 17 having my channel taken away and YouTube telling me that I'm not allowed to post anymore because I was 17, not 18. I would not be happy because I run my own channel and I enjoy my channel and I know that it's wholesome. I wouldn't understand why they were going to take that away from me. There is two sides to minors being allowed on the internet, and that is a really, really hard thing. I honestly don't know how you're supposed to fully protect minors in the social media industry. But I mean, even with all of the laws and regulations in place in Hollywood and for child actors and musicians, they're still put in all of these horrible and bad situations and taken advantage of and exploited. So I don't know if that's something you're ever going to be able to fully tackle and regulate, but there needs to be more regulations. There needs to be more of an effort to protect kids on social media and in any industry. All 50 states 100% need to start cracking down on this issue before it turns into a way bigger crisis. I think a really good place to start to try to protect these kids would be to crack down on the platforms. Adult account owners are using Facebook and Instagram's paid subscription tools to profit from exploitive content featuring their own children. Meta's safety staff recommended banning accounts dedicated to child models or a new requirement that child-focused accounts be registered and monitored. The company instead chose to rely on an automated system designed to detect and ban suspected predators before they could subscribe. Employees said the technology was not reliable and that the bans could easily be evaded. Accounts that are obviously problematic and obviously exploiting children or geared towards predators need to be taken down. Things like Piper Rockelle's channels and social media that are run by her mom need to be taken down. And things like this creepy subscription service where you need to be 18 to subscribe but only 13 to post need to be taken down. I think the platforms need to be doing a better job on really monitoring all child-related content. Instead of just hoping the parents are doing the right thing, there needs to be actual repercussions for what is happening on these platforms. I personally think that would really help to crack down on all of these issues. And when people are reporting and exposing certain accounts as being really problematic and saying that certain kids are being exploited, something needs to happen. So thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Right Side Up. Don't forget to leave a comment and hit that like and subscribe button to see more content, and I will see you guys next time.